Hey there, Steve here. Hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to show you what borrowed chords are, talk about how they work, and show you some chord progressions in which you can use them. Borrowed chords can really spice up a chord progression, but before I dive into an explanation of what a borrowed chord is, it's quite important if you can actually pick one out in a chord progression. So I'm going to give you a little task first. So you're going to hear a chord progression in a second, and I want you to try and listen for the borrowed chord. And this is basically, you're listening for a chord that kind of sounds out with the rest of the progression, but works quite nicely. So did you find the chord? Did you hear which chord it was? I did play the progression round a few times so you could hear where I inserted that borrowed chord. It was of course the G major chord. And this is from one of my own songs. It's a song called Restarts by my band Mountains. And it sounds like this in context. So basically this G major chord has been borrowed from another key signature. Originally it would have been a G sharp minor chord, but we play a G major instead. So it would sound like this. A major, E major, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, and back to the A major there. So it adds a little bit of colouring to the chord progression, right? It sounds a bit interesting and unexpected. So that's basically a function of borrowed chords. So what are borrowed chords exactly? Put simply, they are a chord or chords borrowed from another key signature outside of the key signature we're using for a particular song or a chord progression. Borrowed chords are often borrowed from the parallel minor key when we are in a major key, or the other way around, if we're in a minor key, we'd use borrowed chords from the parallel major key. So to elaborate on this, let's say we have the key of C major. We have chords C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, and B diminished. The parallel minor would be C minor, which is actually E flat major, but we have the chords C minor, D diminished, E flat major, F minor, G minor, A flat major, and B flat major. So if we had a song or a chord progression in the key of C major, but we use one of these chords from C minor, we would refer to this chord as being borrowed, hence the term borrowed chord. Certain Roman numeral symbols are used in chord progressions to notate the fact that it is a borrowed chord. As you can see in a basic major key, we have uppercase and lowercase Roman numerals to indicate which chord that has been used, either a major or minor quality, or diminished with the little circle there. The first is major, second and third are minor, fourth and fifth are major, sixth is minor, and the seventh is a diminished. If we are borrowing a chord from the parallel minor key, let's say, which is traditionally what is done, we have first would be a minor, but this, instead of being an uppercase, is referred to as a lowercase Roman numeral. So the first is a minor, second is the diminished, as you can see here. A third would be a flat third, major it's called. A fourth and fifth, these are usually major in the major key, but in this parallel minor key, they are going to be minors. So that's how we can tell which they are borrowed chords. And then we have a flat sixth and flat seventh major chord. That's how they're referred to. And as you can see in the traditional major key, that the sixth and the seventh are both either minor or diminished. So when we see this uppercase sixth and seventh with a flat symbol, we know that this is a borrowed chord, sorry. So I recommend trying out borrowed chords in your chord progressions because they can add this unexpected sound and they can really spice up a chord progression, especially if you're like looping something 3 times and you want to add a little bit of flavor to the third time round. So you could either replace the chord with a borrowed chord or you could include a borrowed chord in the progression, for example. So I'll leave you with 3 ways in which you can use borrowed chords in chord progressions, and these are 3 ways that I like to use these chords, and I think you'll enjoy them too, and the 3 useful and actually practical ways of applying them in a chord progression. So the first way you can use borrowed chords, is the way we've been looking at it so far in this video, is replacing the minor third in a major key with the major third borrowed from the parallel minor key. So remember, if we have this A major chord, let's say we play an E major 6, F sharp minor 7, which is the second. Then we have the borrowed chord, the G major 7 there. Originally it would sound like this. So an A major, E major, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, and then back to the A major there. So I find it just has a slightly more pleasant sound when ascending, and it's quite unexpected, right? So the second application is replacing a diminished chord. So this is built from the 7th degree in your major key, and we're going to replace this from the parallel minor again, and we're going to be using the major 7, so the flat 7 there, I should say. And it can add this kind of especially if you're going from the diminished to the first, so going 7-1, you can add this, instead of having that tension from the 7-1, you can kind of change it a little bit and give it a different bit of flavour by using the flat 7, the major chord, from the parallel minor key, so borrowing that chord. So for example, if you have this progression, so B major 7, C sharp major 7, E major 7, and an A major 7 there. So that's the borrowed chord. So originally it would sound like this. So B major 7, C sharp minor 7, E major 7, and then you'd have the A sharp diminished there. Third application is one I like to use quite often, is replacing an unwanted dominant sound with a minor chord. So we're going to replace it with the minor 5th instead of using the major 5th. Sometimes I don't want to use dominant chords, so I can replace this with the minor 5th, which is borrowed from the parallel minor there. So this is even confusing for me when I'm talking about it. So anyway, so if we take this progression, so we're going to have B minor 7. This idea is in the key of D major. So we're going to start on the 6th, which is a B minor, then go to the 1st, D major, and we're going to go E minor, and then we're going to play an A minor. So it adds this different flavour to it again. I really like that, especially that A minor 13 chord. So originally it would sound something like this. And here comes the dominant chord. So I like, it's very jazzy, right? But we can change it obviously to the minor 5th instead for a little different flavour. If you want to still sound a bit dominant, that 13th note there really helps. So yeah, you can obviously go and apply this to any other key signature as well. I've just shown you a bunch there. But you've got those chord progressions there. So remember, quickly to elaborate, replacing the minor 3rd with a major 3rd, replacing the diminished 7th with a major 7th, and lastly replacing the dominant 5th chord with a minor 5th chord from the parallel minor, all borrowed from the parallel minor. Let's put it up there. So this one, yeah, it's a fun concept. It's quite hard to get your head around, so don't worry if you're scratching your head, because yeah, I still don't completely understand it all, but it's good fun. Like I said, if you want to find out more about chords and music theory and such, this is all in the e-guide that I just made recently, so there'll be a link down below for that in the description. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, and if you haven't subscribed already and you're finding yourself watching my content quite often, then please subscribe. That would really help me out. And as always, I'd like to say thank you for watching the video, and a thank you to all the patrons of the channel, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.